Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with another one of those my favorite blank movie videos. And this one I actually want to read you a couple passages, one at the beginning of the review, one at the end, um, from the book that this film is adapted from. I'm of course talking about Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo. Let's start this. And all the guys who died, all the 5 million or 7 million or 10 million who went out and died to make the world safe for democracy, to make the world safe for words without meaning, how did they feel about it just before they died? How did they feel as they watched their blood pump out into the mud? How did they feel when the gas hit their lungs? Oh God, and began eating them all away? How did they feel as they lay there in hospitals and looked death straight in the face and saw him come and take them? If the thing they were fighting for was important enough for them to die for, then it was also important enough for them to be thinking about in the last minutes of their lives. That stood to reason. Life is awfully important, so if you're giving it away, you'd ought to think about, with all your mind in the last moments of your life, about the thing you traded it for. So did all of those kids die thinking about democracy and freedom and liberty and honor and safety of the homeland and the stars and stripes forever? You're goddamn right they didn't. They died crying in their minds like little babies. They forgot the thing they were fighting for, the thing they were dying for. They thought about things a man can understand. They died yearning for the face of a friend. They died whimpering for the voice of a mother, a father, a wife, a child. They died with their hearts sick for one more look at the place where they were born. Please God, just one more look. They died moaning and sighing for life. They knew what was important then. They knew that life was everything. They knew that life was everything. And they died with screams and sobs. They died with only one thought in their minds, and that was, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live. He ought to know. He was the nearest thing to a dead man on earth. Johnny Got His Gun sits up there with Come and See as one of the most depressing, disturbing, uncomfortable anti-war films ever made. While not as artfully made and polished as Come and See, or as graphic as Come and See, Johnny Got His Gun still packs a punch, even 40 years after the fact. And the novel still holds a power that is completely unmatched despite being published 80 years ago. The film follows World War I soldier Joe Barnum, who is hit with an artillery shell, turning him into a living sack of potatoes, figuratively speaking. Trapped within himself, with no arms, no legs, no face, no sight, no sound, no taste, no form of communication, Joe travels in and out of dreams and memories trying to escape his situation. The concept alone makes the film extremely disturbing and just not pleasant. The film is one I've heard a lot of people say that the acting is pretty bad, that it's aged poorly, maybe it's, a little over the top, but honestly, this film holds a great power, in my opinion, that I think is to do with the strong source material and concept behind it. Honestly, the performances are all pretty solid for the most part. And visually, I think the film looks beautiful in a very mournful and sad way. The present scenes are shot in black and white, and Joe's memories and fantasies are in color, which provides a nice contrast between the scenes, although it feels a little student film-esque at times. And I just love how the film looks. It was shot in the 70s, early 70s, but it looks like a film from the 1950s at times. It definitely has a look. I remember watching this film when I was about 12, 13 years old. I cried like a baby. It had a profound effect on me that has lasted over 10 years now, and has helped to shape me into who I am socially and politically. The novel I didn't read until I was in my 20s, and it was such a beautiful mistake, because this novel is so well written and beautiful and just amazing, but it's also extremely disturbing, and it's such a disturbing experience that it's hard to really put into words. I think, to put it best, the novel is a lot more disturbing and uncomfortable and scary. This is not a horror novel, but I consider it one because it's so fucking uncomfortable. Because film is a visual medium, you can see what happens in the film, what's happening around Joe as he's laying there in his bed. But the book doesn't give you that comfort. You can't see what's going on around Joe. You only see his perspective, which is nothing. So you get entire stretches of the book where it's just Joe screaming to be killed, screaming for his mother, crying inside himself, and just begging for death for pages and pages, trapped in the darkness. It's a very intense read that actually caused a repressed memory from my childhood to resurface. Specifically, there's a part in the novel where Joe is it's implied he's getting like a sponge bath, but in his mind he's remembering a time when he was at the creek with his girlfriend, and he starts to and he feels the water like get up to his neck and splash onto his face, and he thinks that he's drowning, and he's trying and trying and trying to breathe in through his mouth as much as he can, and he realizes then that from his chin all the way to his forehead is nothing. And that like caused me to remember a time I nearly drowned when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, that I just couldn't, I honestly didn't remember it until then. With how intense it was written, I just remembered that feeling of trying to breathe, but I couldn't. And this novel, as well as the film, has left me with a major discomfort towards the sound of old telephones ringing. So now anytime I hear a rotary telephone ring, I immediately get depressed and frightened, because there is a moment in the film where Joe is talking about how, phone calls in the middle of the night are a bad thing. Don't pick up the phone. And there's a couple parts in the book where the same thing happens. And as a result, anytime I hear a rotary telephone ring, I just become sad and kind of scared. That movie did this to me. This book did this to me. Speaking of this book, I want to read you the second passage. Take me into the schoolhouses. All the schoolhouses in the world. Suffer little children to come unto me. Isn't that right? They may scream at first and have nightmares at night, but they'll get used to it, because they have to get used to it. And it's best to start them young. Gather them around my case and say, here, little girl, little boy, come take a look at your daddy. Come take a look at yourself. You'll be like this when you grow up to be big and strong men and women. You'll have a chance to die for your country, and you might not die. You might come back like this. Not everybody dies, little kiddies. Closer, please. You, over there by the blackboard. What's the matter with you? Quit crying, you silly little girl. Get over here and look at the nice man who was a soldier boy. You remember him, don't you? You remember, little crybaby, how you waved flags and saved tinfoil to put your savings in thrift stamps? Of course you do, silly. Well, here's the soldier you did it for. Come on. And with that, I bid you all adieu. This is Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews, signing off on a very somber and melancholy video. I'll see you guys on the next one, and hopefully it won't be as horribly depressing. Peace.